And
Hi, my name is Kay Petrie, and I'm the owner and YogaFit certified instructor of my own company called HopeYoga. We're located in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, Canada. And you can find us online anytime at www.hopeyoga.ca. By watching this video, you give your full consent that you are healthy enough to perform exercise and release Kay Petrie and HopeYoga from any form of liability. In this video, we're going to look at the pose breakdown for the pose called Child's Pose. It is a base pose in the style of yoga that I teach. The pose itself can be used at any time during our practice when we need rest or just feel like we need to take a few breaths to catch ourselves so that we can continue on during our practice. The pose itself is also used during a flow series so that when you're moving from pose to pose, this is one of the poses that can be used. Looking at the different body parts and how it works in our body, the pose itself stretches our lower back, our glutes, and our shoulders if we're using extended child's pose. The major muscles that we're taking care of are our quads, our hamstrings, our spine, and our glutes. In this video, I'll demonstrate 3 variations of the pose. The first variation that I'll demonstrate is the very traditional child's pose. The second option that I will demonstrate is called extended child's pose. And then finally, in the third option that I will show you in this video, I'll be using some of the props that you see here that we can use if we're taking care of our knees, our shoulders, or our back, giving you and everyone the ability to provide and able to do the poses no matter how your body feels. So moving along, we'll move into our first demonstration, which is our regular traditional child's pose. We start on all fours, taking care to align all of our joints. So we're aligning our wrists, our elbows, and our shoulders, all stacked above each other. Our knees are in line with our hip bones. We have a nice neutral flat back, so a nice neutral spine. We're keeping a nice strong core. Our fingertips, especially our middle fingers, are faced towards the front of the room, and our fingers are starfished. From here, we're going to start shifting backwards through our hips, bringing our hips towards our heels. From here, we're going to start working our body forward, bringing our ribs onto our thighs, bringing our forehead down to the ground. From here, we're all going to work our hands backwards with our palms facing upwards, letting our shoulders drop and finding rest here. While we're here, we can take deep breaths, inhaling all the way down to our belly buttons and exhaling all the way out. So that is a demonstration of the more traditional child's pose. So let's start up again on all fours. Again, remembering to stack all of our joints, wrists, shoulders, elbows, knees and hips. And our knees are about hip width apart. The pose that we're going to look at now, the variation of it, is called extended child's pose. So as in child's pose, we're going to start shifting our hips backwards towards our heels. Again, we're going to bring ribs to thighs, bringing our forehead down to the ground. From here, we're going to keep our hands extended for extended child's pose. In extended child's pose, we want to make sure that our shoulders are still able to stay down and back. We don't want to overextend, causing possible damage in our joints in our shoulders. Again, here we're able to find rest. And taking deep breaths, fully relaxing in the pose. Now from here, we're going to demonstrate some different options that we have using our props. So let's say, for example, that you needed to make space for your body. In the other poses, you'll notice that we kept our knees closer together. In this variation of the pose, we're going to spread our knees open wide and then shift backwards, bringing our glutes down towards our heels, and then shifting forward as we did before. We still have the option to bring our arms back or keep our arms forward. But the point here is that we're making space for our body if we need it by spreading our knees. So that's one option. That's not really using a prop, but it's just shifting our body in a different position so that we can be comfortable. If we're coming down into child's pose and we find that we can't fully come forward, perhaps we're having sensitivities in our back, we're taking care of our backs today, what we can use is use a block. So as we're coming down, again, still coming back into our child's pose, what we can do is use a block to rest our forehead as we come into child's pose. And with our block, we can position it on whatever angle we need to, depending on our level of flexibility. Now, if we don't have a block, we can also use our fists. So as we're coming down, we can stack our fists, bringing forehead to the top of our fists, allowing us to be more comfortable and still find a place of rest. If we have sensitivity in our knees, in our joints, sometimes it can be difficult to come all the way down. So what we can do is take a yoga mat, a blanket, a towel, whatever we need to, and roll it up and place it behind our knees, even if we had a pillow, if we're practicing at home. So from here, we start in the same way. We shift back and then down. What that allows us to do is to have a less deep of a bend in our knee, protecting our joints. Finally, if we want to, we can use a bolster. A bolster is good if we're looking at using child's pose to use simply to rest or to relax. It's a good way to use this if you're at home, and you could also stack up some pillows if you needed to without going out and buying an actual bolster. So from here again, you're starting on all fours. We're coming back. Probably best here to keep our knees spread apart, and we can come forward, this time bringing our chest not to our thighs but onto the bolster, and simply resting our head on the bolster, placing our arms wherever we feel comfortable, closing our eyes and finding rest. So those are all of the different options that you can find for child's pose. I hope that you like this installment of our pose breakdown, and I hope that you'll come visit us again. Namaste.